talk football now, where the Confederation of African Football says it is satisfied with the preparations in Cameroon ahead of the Women's Nations Cup in November. However, some venues are yet to be completed with just 8 weeks to the event. CCTV's Saddique Shaban has more from Yaounde.
Even before hosting the women's tournament, Cameroon is in a race against itself. Construction work at this new facility, the military stadium in the heart of the capital Yaounde, goes on, with site engineers eyeing to beat the deadline.
The works here began in November last year, and as you can see, they're about 85% done. This facility will be used for training and will be completed in the next 4 weeks.
But the real work is here, at the Amadou Ahidjo Stadium, which will host the opening ceremony, the final and the closing ceremony. New seats are being installed while other safety and security modifications are also being implemented. Confederation of African Football inspectors were recently here.
The report of the inspection team was they were satisfied with what they have seen. You have few works to be completed on the main stadium in Yaounde, which are supposed to be delivered by the end of this month. So we do hope everything will be ready, but Cameroon today has more than the facilities needed to host the Women's AFCON.
Cameroonian cities of Yaounde and Limbe will welcome the 8 teams in their modern facilities for their 2-week event later in the year. In about 2 months' time, Cameroon will host the Women's African Cup of Nations. It's now rush against time as the country prepares to host the continental showpiece. Saddique Shaban, CCTV, Yaounde, Cameroon.
Right now, for more analysis, we're joined by sports analyst Eugene Nforngwa, who is standing by for us in the Cameroonian capital, Yaounde. Eugene, of course, Cameroon last hosted AFCON in 1974, rather first hosted it in 1974, and now the Continental Women's Football Championship comes back in November. Just how prepared is the country to host this event?
Well, thank you very much. You should know that Cameroon has been waiting for this competition for a very, very long time. As you point out, the last time the country hosted a major tournament was in 1974. And so everything is being done to ensure that the tournament takes place in the best conditions. New facilities have been built from scratch. The stadium in Limbe, just outside the Atlantic Ocean. There's also been reworks at the main Amadou Ahidjo Stadium in Yaounde, where the final game and the opening games will take place. You should know that Cameroon is also a country where football is considered a religion, and so everyone is working 24 hours, 7 days to ensure that the tournament is hosted in the best conditions. In addition to the facilities and venues, hotels have all been refurbished, and the population is waiting. There's a total mobilization of Cameroonians who, first of all, are football crazy to make sure this competition goes on well.
Now, Eugene, of course, unfortunately, the women's game has tended to lag behind the men's game. There has been little or no interest in women's football in Africa. Can we now say that the trend is now changing?
Indeed, this is changing tremendously. The simple fact that this tournament is holding and it's being called the Africa Cup of Nations for the first time indicates to what level football authorities on the continent are trying to upscale women's football to the same level as the men's football. At national levels, countries are putting in place systems and operations to ensure that there's development of women's football. But also you need to know that it's not yet there. There are only 8 teams coming into this tournament. Meanwhile, the men's football has about 16 teams that come in. That shows that there's still a gap between the men's football and women's football in Africa. But then there is strong indication that the game is developing and it's taking its rightful place.
Eugene, thank you very much for speaking to us here on Matchpoint. Eugene Nforngwa, who is a sports analyst, joining us live from Yaounde in Cameroon, as we were talking about the popularity of women's football and the run-up to the Africa Women's Cup of Nations.